Hello there, good morning, and welcome to my YouTube channel. This morning I'm doing a pen drawing, my typically Entangled style. I'm using a square piece of the Canson Imagine mixed media paper and a Uniball eye pen. And I mention these because people may be interested in what I use. I'm not sponsored or gifted products to mention them or paid in any way, shape and form. Everything's bought by my own heart, pennies I've earned myself, and that I wanted to do. I like to use. I'm really into the eye pens at the moment because I'm finding it really difficult to wreck the points, which is something I do with fine liners. I'm really heavy-handed. They're a bit more awkward to use in some ways because they really, they don't like going in different directions as easily as fine liners perhaps do, but they work out nicely. And the added advantage as well of the eyes is that they are waterproof when they dry. I've got a test piece of paper with a test on for that you can get eye needlepoint pens, and I thought that the ink in those, because it's the same sort of like company, Uniball, and same name of pen, the eye, that the ink would be the same. And at the moment it doesn't seem to be. It seems not to be waterproof. So I've got a piece there that's got the ink drying for a fair amount of time, just to see whether that's the case or not. So yeah. So if they're dry, if they are waterproof, brilliant. If not, I just have to remember if I use them for drawing, then I have to use dry media if I want to add colour, which is fine. Or they can be scanned in and coloured digitally, can't they? So, as I didn't stop and think about that. Yeah. So I'm doing a typically Entangled drawing here this morning. I've been out of sorts for the past few days, really. Emotional weather, it happens. And the odd thing is that I feel content even though there's something not right at the same time. A bit like storm clouds, but the sun's behind them somewhere in the daytime. And so, very strange feeling, but that's how it is. But yeah, my emotions have been all over the place. Don't know why particularly. I've got an inkling as to why, but and yesterday I really felt physically unwell with it all as well, which does happen with me. I do have to say that, it really does. But all's fine and well. So to catch up with the drawing on the screen, what I'm doing here is adding shadow, and it's almost like sculpting. The drawing is adding a sense of volume to it and thickness, I suppose, or depth. I'm never quite sure how to describe this, but it gives that illusion of there being layers and other things going on. And this is where the eye pen is a bit awkward, because it's not always that easy to get the rollerball to follow the same lines, just a little bit round. So they can become a bit heavy-handed, but I just work with it because that's still my kind of style. And it is a typically Entangled kind of drawing. I've got no particular idea of what I want to draw. I'm just going with the flow. Sort of like some geometric stuff going on in the centre motif. Then there's some seed pod style things and some weird foliage. And of course I like to fill areas in either with little circles. Sometimes I use cross hatching, but today it's little circles. And there I was going to leave that little bit, but I thought, no, I'm going to fill it all up because I haven't got any other shapes really like that one along the way. So it all works its way out. And it is a typically Entangled kind of drawing because it's what I return to when I need something that's familiar for me to do. I term it comfort art. And I certainly needed to do some things over the past few days that were comforting to me. that didn't push me too much, where I didn't feel too overwhelmed. I've sort of done lots of stuff in the past week. I did a flip through of my sketchbook the other day, but I was getting dissatisfied with adding colour and really getting myself into a pickle with it and making some really, really bizarre choices of what to do and how to do things. Yesterday, I did colour this week's template for the Angela Porter's Colouring Book Fans Facebook group, and I did that digitally, and because I used a limited colour palette, this month's colour palette challenge, which is all tropical and bright and cheerful colours. Again, something I really needed, but I asked a question of the group, and there were equal numbers of tropical colours and bright and cheerful, so they went together. And that meant that I already had those colours that I either would work together or would work together because it was a consistent colour palette. And that was nice to do, nice to lose myself in that. So today I do intend, once I've done some errands and some tasks like getting all of this uploaded and what have you, to spend some time getting the templates for Whimsical Cats coloured. And I need to start looking at the next book as well, because they need the cover done by the middle of this month. Yeah, it's crazy to think that. And then the next book needs to be done by the end of November, at least the black and white plates. And then it won't be published until, well, nearly a year later, I guess. So it's a strange way of working, but that's how it is. And of course, I'm not going to tell you what the theme of the next book is. If you want to guess, you can. But it's certainly going to be a bit of a challenge for me. All books are in a way, but this one particularly so. But yeah, so there's that. So I'm just filling some gaps in with patterns. It's a nice thing to do. And again, it's adding some darkness and adding that sense of one thing lying over another and getting layers going. I'm not leaving a lot of white space here, it has to be said. Cramming it all in. That may just be how I feel about myself at the moment, because I do think my emotional weather does show itself in art, and the frustrations I feel at times with colour and style of art. And of course, I've been pushing my boundaries a bit lately with various media and of course things that like abstract arts that I love, but I do find provokes my sense of I'm not good enough for this, or this just seems too easy to be worthwhile, which is often how I feel about my pen drawing, because I find it relatively easy to do. Though I'm constantly trying to find new patterns, new ways of expressing things, and every design is different. Even if I'm using the same sets of patterns. But it's some things will provoke that sense of I'm just not good enough. Excuse me. Oh gosh, sneeze. Weather's changed here. It's quite cool today and breezy, and it's been really rainy overnight. And for whatever reason, it's provoked sneezing in me. But there we are. That's life. So yeah. So lots of things going on. These loops here with the beads in, I really quite like what's happened here. You can see me adding the darker edges just to give that sense of depth again. But in the middle, I'm putting almost like concentric semicircles to give a feeling of shadow. And I like that. I've used this before in the past with various things, but not very often. And it just came to mind today. So here's where I'm going all a bit loopy here, just a bit. And again, you can see me trying to add and thicken that line. I can see how rough it is, but I do go back and smooth things out and get things sorted. I like enclosed spaces in my art. I'm happy to leave space around a drawing, but within it I do like to enclose spaces, even those that are white space. It just feels the right thing for me to do it, for no other reason. It just appeals to my aesthetics, I suppose, and the way that I express myself. Just adding a few more of these little beads there, because I can. And then I'll go and add some more of these. And as I was adding the blackness or the darkness to these lines here, and I go back and work on it again, I was in mind of a Entangled pattern called Diva Dance, where you put lumps and bumps on the lines and make them wiggle round each other. And I wasn't really thinking of doing Diva Dance, but it was thinking, well, I don't need to have these to be perfectly parallel with the lines. I can do it in my way, this way, and I can have them thicker and the lines not as even perhaps as they could be. Just adding some loops and things, and here for some strange reason I just decided I wanted some. It's best not to ask. I don't understand what I'm doing either, but I thought little fragments perhaps of geometric patterns, I suppose, or arches almost, or decoration from architecture would be quite nice there. I really do get influenced by Romanesque architecture in particular, and either arches or little fragments like that, little sections, will appear in my artwork, simply because I like it. And these are the kinds of things that appeal to me. And going to abbeys that are in ruins and so on, you see lots of pieces of stonework, masonry, that were destroyed at the time of the dissolution of the monasteries by Henry VIII's lot, and just left there still, or have been discovered and uncovered. And so I think that's where I'm almost positive as I talk about it now, that feels right, is that's where the influence of just these sections come from. Adding some black, because I like white space, but black really throws things to the background. And here I realised that I needed to add some volume, using black thicker lines to add some volume to those seed pods. And with this, I wasn't paying any attention to light source. I was just creating a repeating pattern of thick lines, thin lines, thick lines, thick lines around, because I can, and because it's what I felt was needed. After a year made me laugh. I spent all that time thickening lines, and I thought, no, we're going to have black there. And that's what I do. So I'm like, yeah, put some black there. And that works. And I'm looking at things and thinking, yeah, where can I put some black now? What do I need to go really to the background? At the moment, I don't know. But it's all fun. And here I felt like I needed something here. And it actually ends up almost like a stand. Get chairs that have these kinds of legs on them that are like this. And it feels like the whole design is sat on top of this. So I'm likely to leave, I think I leave the bottom. Yeah, I do. I leave the bottom as it is. Adding little details, joining spaces together and creating this, because there wasn't as much support on that side as the other for the upper bit. So I add some more, which is fine. It's what we can do. My drawings do grow pretty organically, and I often have no idea what I'm doing at the time. These thought processes don't occur to me. I know that I thought, oh, that looks like a support there. Looks like chair legs or something, a stand for it, which wasn't in my mind as I was creating it, but came to me as I was creating it, as it were, or afterwards. So I am going to keep that there and see where it goes. So I'm at the end now, so I'd just like to say thank you for joining me this morning. Enjoy the rest of your day, be creative and look after yourselves. Take care now. Bye-bye.